Well, these players are going to take a look at their openers. Well, looks like Schneider did take a mulligan, and now we are underway. A shambling vent is where Seth Manfield will begin. For Andrew Schneider, we'll see where he wants to do things.
Yeah, and this is going to be an interesting matchup. The pressure is on Seth much more than it is on Andrew in this one. He really needs a fast start where he can force Andrew to start chump blocking earlier than he'd like.
He doesn't have a fast start.
No, 2 tap lands and no green source is going to be difficult. Now, the other thing that Abzan Aggro has going for it is that it does have Anafenza the Foremost. So in the absence of a very fast start, Seth can just have an Anafenza in play, and if the Anafenza is never removed, he can, in a way, I guess you'd say he could cheese out the rally deck.
Well, Seth is going to sacrifice a Wooded Foothills. I think we'll have a basic forest on the way, and we do. And he might try to cheese him out right now, as you said, with an Anafenza on turn number 3, something that Schneider has a very difficult time beating in game number 1.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost impossible for the rally deck to combo through Anafenza. He has 1 copy of Murderous Cut in the main deck, and that is 4 copies of Sidisi's Faithful to bounce Anafenza when he wants to combo, but that's it for dealing with the 4/4.
Well, there is Anafenza. And now we are going to go back Schneider's way. Never want to see this on the other side of the table if you are playing Rally.
Yeah, so the difficulty here is that what he can do is if he can, Andrew Schneider can tread water for a really long time. He can set up a turn where he faithfuls away the Anafenza and then kind of sacrifices the whole team and rallies back the whole team and gets them in one fell swoop. But the issue is that sometimes Rally takes 2 or 3 turns to build up their graveyard, and he's not going to be able to do that with Anafenza in play, and bouncing Anafenza won't solve that either. That's where he has to lean on cards like Murderous Cut.
Elvish Visionary is the discard, means it's going to go down to exile. Schneider is going to sacrifice a Polluted Delta. Figure out what land he does want to search up here.
Right, so see here, he does have a Faithful, and I think it'll be interesting to see how he wants to time the usage of that card. You know, it's a very temporary fix to Anafenza.
Swamp is the weapon of choice here for Andrew. And now here's a morph. That morph is a Grim Horror Specs. And we're going to head back Seth's way in just a moment here.
Yeah, and of note, Andrew actually is only on black and blue mana at the moment, so a long ways off from a card like Rally. Can't even cast his green spells at the moment.
Manfield will untap. He'll take a draw step here with that active Anafenza ready to go into the red zone.
Yeah, Seth may not know what he's playing against were it not for that Elvish Visionary that was exiled. That one's pretty telltale of the matchup.
And this will be an attack for 4.
Thanks to Anafenza here, all Seth really needs to do is continue to keep up pressure. His draw is actually fairly weak outside of the 4/4. Abzan Charming on turn 4 to draw cards is not what Abzan Aggro would like to be doing.
I think that's a sign of a pretty weak hand.
Yeah.
Windswept Teeth is the follow-up. Seth is going to sacrifice that.
Right, well, if he can get a Warden into play this turn, then at least he made another threat. And that'll, you know, that's what he wants to keep doing. So.
Oh, there is a forest. And it leads me to believe a Warden will be on the way. Seth's someone with a lot of experience playing Abzan.
Of all flavors, really, aggro or control.
Yeah. And no matter how much we try, it continues to just stay. You know, we'd like for Abzan to maybe go away. It's not that good. Siege Rhino's not that well positioned. Wingmate Rock's not that good. Neither is Abzan Charm.
Siege Rhino can only be so poorly positioned. I mean,
how bad could it be?
Right. What boards, you know, there are very few board states where that's just a bad card.
We're going to head back Andrew's way. See if he can find that 1 Murderous Cut. Does he even have green mana at this stage? I suppose that's a question as well.
One thing I really like watching about Seth Manfield plays, he's part of, you know, this current class of pro players. You get players like Jacob Wilson's, Owen Turtenwald's, Seth Manfield's, who are just these real masters of playing 3-color value decks, ones that switch game plans really easily. And it's great to watch them play that, just to see how they can just reorient their cards toward the board that they're on.
Well, these decks you have to kind of adjust to what you're doing. You know, adjust to your opponent. maybe adjust game plans, and those players are all great at doing it.
Yeah, I mean, you look, and it almost to me feels like it's a generational thing. You look at someone like John Finkel, who he storms people and he storms them better than anyone else, and that's why he wins. And some of your older players, you'll get those players who do that, and then our kind of recent pros, the guys who come onto the scene in the last 2 or 3 years, they tend to be these 3-color players, just these masters of value playing.
Let's see what's next here for Andrew. Looks like he's found some green mana. Canopy Vista via Flooded Strand, and now a Catacomb Sifter. And that's going to bring an Eldrazi Scion along with it. And now here comes the morph. Time to unmorph. Grim Horospex, get in for some damage. So for Schneider, might not be able to use the graveyard this game, but might just try to give the beatdowns.
Right, so, and that does look like the plan he's going to be on. I mean, the difficulty is going to be if you want to go, let's play efficient creature magic against Obs on aggro. It's a pretty tall order. Siege Rhino and Anafenza are very big numbers of power for small numbers of mana.
We're going to head back Seth Manfield's way. With his start here, 3-0, maybe we'll see him at our Players' Championship next week in Roanoke.
Boy, would that throw a wrench in things. I
don't think the other players qualified would be too happy about that. Here come the beatdowns. Anafenza is going to give the Warden a +1/+1 counter. So it's a 2/2 right now. It can grow, of course. We'll see if Seth has any interest in that, but no, it's just going to be an attack here for 6.
And remember, if this race comes down, if this game comes down to a race, that the ability of Warden of the first tree to get lifelink could come up in a big way. Schneider's deck doesn't have much instant speed removal. So he does have to be conscious of that if he wants to just try to race Manfield down.
We'll see what's next here for Seth. Going to reorganize the lands a little bit. You see an Abzan Charm in hand. We saw him cast that on his main phase last turn and draw some cards. Might see it again, honestly.
Wow, and that's, I think so. Okay. And watch how he's reoriented here. The last one was a draw 2, and this time he's using Abzan Charm to exile Grim Haruspex, which, on its surface seems weak. But I think what's happened here is Seth has realized that Schneider can't remove the Anafenza, is going to have to race, and if we're in a racing situation, okay, a kill spell on any 3-power creature is acceptable.
Looks like an Evolving Wilds here on the main phase. That'll be card number 4 here for Schneider in the graveyard, it appears. There's a basic Plains. It's interesting because you see some games with 4-color Rally where, I don't need to cast Rally. It's fine. I'll just grind into the ground with Collected Companies and some other things. But what this deck really does need, it does need the death triggers that it gets from Cutthroat and Horospex, and it does need at least a little bit of access to its graveyard.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he's not building up toward anything right now hurts.
Jace, an activation. Draw and discard. Found another copy of Sidisi's Faithful. That might be interesting.
I mean, I believe he has all creatures, so I don't know if he can actually flip the Jace.
Yep, this is going to be card number 5. Now, keep in mind with Anafenza, when a creature goes to the graveyard from anywhere.
From anywhere.
Yeah.
So it doesn't actually flip the Jace. The Nantuko Husk goes to exile.
Yeah, no.
No.
The world champion knows that. Let's see what the follow-up is. Here come the beatdowns. Seth's going to take 3.
Yeah, I think looking at the board and saying, well, I'm ahead on life points, and my creatures are bigger, so I guess we'll take here.
There's the Faithful.
Right.
Now the question here is, does he get the Scry? And I believe the answer is yes. Because it's a token, and a token will go to the graveyard.
Yes, so tokens still go to the graveyard under Anafenza.
Correct. It's a little bit confusing at times. There's another Catacomb Sifter.
Yeah, well, it's because Anafenza says creature card from anywhere, and tokens are not actually cards. They are creatures, but they need to be both.
So Anafenza got bounced, and now we head back Seth's way. We know he's got, we know he obviously has that Anafenza in hand. He's also got another copy of Abzan Charm over there.
It'll be interesting to see how he prioritizes here. I know he wants to get damage in. At the same time, you have to be very concerned about ever letting Schneider untap on a board where there's not Anafenza. Seth could get comboed if he lets that happen. And you see for Seth, his draw has been so unimpressive. He's had 2 Wardens that he's never found time to pump. He's missed his 5th land numerous times, and yet still, he may be winning this game.
There's Nanafenza. And now pass the turn back over to Schneider. Andrew's going to draw a card. And we'll see what he can figure out this turn. Didn't get a great look at his draw step. He's barely picked the card up. Here's a Jace activation. Looks like Rally of the Ancestors with a draw. That one stinks right now.
Well, the good news is that if he wants a Planeswalker, he can discard it.
Yep. And Jace Telepath Unbound is here. Going to start on 5. Horsepex and Sidisi's Faithful in hand.
So perhaps he can set up a good turn here with that Sidisi's Faithful, but we're still a ways off it.
Sack the token, get this out of here.
Now, if he wanted, he could scry. Yeah, he gets 2 scries here.
That's 1. Here's number 2.
Probably looking for Murderous Cut, Sidisi's Faithful. I mean, of course, he's been looking for the Murderous Cut, but he only plays 1. Nantuko Husk would even be reasonable here.
And Jace looks like it's going to go up. Yep, shut down the bigger Warden.
Yeah, and Schneider is doing a good job of capitalizing on Seth's mana difficulties.
Doing the best he can. Here come the Sifters.
Yeah, he's trying to race Seth in fair magic, just creatures for creatures. I mean, if Seth had actual lands in play, there'd be no way this could work, but Schneider has done a good job of adapting.
Well, now we're going to go back Manfield's way. See what he can put together this turn.
I believe he has the 5th land. See if he has to put that Anafenza down yet again. The good news is once he plays Anafenza, he now, with the 5th land, can start to pump those Wardens. And remember, all it takes is 1 Warden to a 3/3. Seth untaps, and he can lifelink it, put a counter on it. And I think 1 hit of gaining 5 would be hard for Andrew to come back from.
I think he's in a situation where he really can't afford to have Seth gain any life.
Yeah.
But we might see Seth take a more defensive approach to the game now. He's going to play an Anafenza. He's just going to pass the turn back. No attacks to be had.
Yeah, when you're trying to beat someone up with 2/3s, any life gain is really difficult to manage.
What's the draw here? Collected Company.
All right, well, he's trying to hit Sidisi's Faithful yet again. If he does, though, that's very bad news for Seth.
Take a look at the top 6 here, Will Schneider. See what he can find.
He found Zulaport Cutthroat and Catacomb Sifter. Now, the Cutthroat won't trigger off anything except that 1 Scion token. However, this gives Schneider, I guess, a sense of permission here to start suiciding his own cards. But he still has to watch out for life gains on Warden of the First Tree. That's not irrelevant here.
Going to shut down the Warden here with Jace as it ticks up to 7.
Yeah, Jace getting close to ultimate range. Now, with how this game's played out, I'm not positive a Jace ultimate would actually be good enough for Andrew. Jace can give Collected Company flashback next turn, which that'll be great.
Get a little bit deeper. Seth's going to search up a Canopy Vista.
I do think it's what Schneider has to watch out for is one of these Wardens getting to level 2 or even 3.
Well, he's going to level 1 up his Manfield.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. He can, if he goes for the one without a counter, he's giving himself some insurance against a Sidisi's Faithful. If he goes for the one with a counter, then he potentially stands to gain more lifelink.
All right, so 1 without.
Yep, he'll split it up. I like that. They're both better blockers now.
Keep in mind, 1 is level 1 there. That's the one in the middle. The other...
Can we get the die on the level Wardens and not be on the card?
Yeah, the other is level... is just a +1/+1 counter. So we'll have the one in the middle have the die around it, not on top of it. Make it clearer for you guys at home.
There we go. So yeah, that's one. It has been leveled up once. We go back to Seth. 6 mana. He has some Shambling Vents available.
And you see Seth put the die right back on the Warden. Don't touch my die. Yeah, perhaps that'll. You see the confusion a little bit. It can be tough when one Warden has a +1/+1 counter and the leveling and all that stuff. But I want to make it clear, not only for the viewers at home, but of course for Andrew as well.
So now they both have 1/1 counters. That will
Correct.
simplify things.
Yep.
Anafenza puts a counter on the second Warden.
So now that Warden that's attacking is a 4/4.
Yep.
And offense is a 4/4 as well.
Now keep in mind, Seth is sitting on another copy of Abzan Charm. So if Andrew tries to gang block the Anafenza,
Could go very poorly.
could go poorly.
Looks like Sidisi's Faithful is going to get in front of Anafenza. The Eldrazi Scion is going to get in front of the Warden.
Keep in mind, if there's another activation on the Warden, it doesn't gain just lifelink, but also gains trample. So Andrew cannot sacrifice. Say if Seth goes for lifelink, the play of sacrifice the token in response won't deny the Seth life points.
Well, the way that Seth's reaching for his mana, I think that's exactly what he's going for. He's taking a look at the Warden right now. Wants to make sure he knows exactly how it does work.
Yeah, so the second one, it becomes Human Spirit Warrior with trample and lifelink. So no chump blocking will shut that down. It would be a gain of 4 for Seth. What he has to do, though, is count just how much he's taking on the swing back. You know, he goes up to 9, however.
Yeah, I like it. This is something that you mentioned quite a few turns ago. Just about in this particular game, lifelink might be the way to go.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of difficulty, right? Because Andrew will get to Flashback Collected Company, for example. That's big. Seth will lose 2 points off the Zulaport. Well, he'll lose 1 point off the Zulaport Cutthroat. The token will trigger it. The Sidisi's Faithful will not.
So you see these players are going to sort out combat.
Yeah, it looks like 3 damage is going to trample through. So Schneider will go to 5 off that. 4 points later can put Seth Manfield to 9, so it'd be 9-5. Then 1 trigger should make it 8-6 when all things are done. If you look at that, you know, Seth at 8, there are, well, we see 10 power worth of creatures on Schneider's side of the board. Seth not out of the woods yet, especially not if, say, that Flashback to Collected Company finds the DC's Faithful. That could be game.
Yeah, that's the question, right? What is that going to bring to the table? So I think that's the only route that Schneider can go the next turn is Flashback Collected Company and maybe hope for the best. It could be double Faithful for all we know.
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 Faithfuls already in exile. Or, well, 1 in exile and 1 in play. So, but he does play the full play set, so could happen.
Down to 8. Got to tread lightly here for Seth.
Yeah, he looks like he's going to fetch. Seth, very methodical if you haven't watched his pace of play before.
Just trying to figure out what land to get now. And I think you see both players maybe talking about life totals and all that good stuff.
I believe they're confirming life totals at the moment here. We'll confirm as well. Right now we have it scored as Seth is at 7, Schneider is at 6.
There's Canopy Vista.
2 basic forests, so that'll come into play untapped.
Now there's Den Protector face up.
And like I said, I like how Seth just has adapted his. He's had an awkward draw, and he's really adapted his strategy to it.
Well, it looks like Manfield tapped out, so.
Can Schneider kill him?
I think it's got to be this turn if he can. He'll draw a card.
If he can find a Faithful, I like his shot.
Down goes Jace. Flashback Collected Company. We knew this was coming. Top 6
Here
cards.
we go. Can he find a way to kill it? A Nantuko Husk would be good here, but even then, that could be difficult.
Nantuko Husk. Catacomb Sifter.
So he has all the Sifters in play now.
Oh, he drew one?
And he drew Faithful for the turn. That's huge.
Oh, he's got to kill him right now. I think he's just going to bounce his stuff and attack him for exactly enough. Keep in mind,
what a draw.
Keep in mind the Cutthroat trigger as well. So he's going to bounce Anafenza and then just sack his board.
Yeah,
Tuco
Bob's
has
NFS and everything's dead. We were thinking he was going to have to company into the faithful. You see a smirk on his face. He didn't need to find it off the company. He found faithful number 3 on the draw step.
Andrew Schneider going to win game number 1 here over Seth and Manfield. 4-color rally up a game over Obzon Aggro,
Wow.
able to work through.
I need to give props to Seth for how he played that game. I think I really liked his line on it, but in the end, just falling short. I mean, it shows this is a tough matchup for Obzon Aggro.
It's very, very hard. He had Anafenza from turn 3 forward, and Schneider was able to work his way through that. As we go to the sideboards here, we're going to find that Seth does have a little bit more hate in his board. The 2 copies of Hollowed Moonlight are very obvious. The other options here, 2 Surge of Righteousness, a Ringmate Rock, 3 Duress, a Painful Truth, 2 Transgress the Mind, 2 Self-Inflicted Wound, a Silk Wrap, and an Ultimate Price.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head here. Hollowed Moonlight is in his sideboard just as a concession to how weak this matchup is for him. So he certainly will bring those in. A card like Silk Wrap is actually pretty reasonable because it exiles when it kills a creature, and that definitely matters to him. The last card I might see him go toward is something like Wingmate Rock. He's not very good at attacking on the ground, so getting an extra Wingmate Rock in the deck gives him another plan to win the game. Now, will a Wingmate Rock rated always win it? No. 4-color rally is good at dealing with that, but I do think it's better than some of his ground pounders.
We'll take a look now at Andrew Schneider's sideboard. Merciless Executioner, 2 Obzon Ascendancies, 3 Anafenza the Foremost, 3 Arrestian Clerics, 3 Murderous Cut. And I got a feeling some of these Murderous Cuts are going to come in here.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest weakness is Anafenza. I think he'll bring in all the Murderous Cuts. Merciless Executioner is also pretty reasonable here. Obzon does a pretty good job of just tapping out for 1 creature per turn. Executioner breaks that symmetry.
Well, there's the options there for both players. They will shuffle up, get ready. Seth Manfield will be on the play here for game number 2. We're going to talk about season number 1 on the SCG Tour for next year. Starts here in Las Vegas, and then after that, we'll be going to Cincinnati for a Modern Open, January 2nd and the 3rd. After that, Modern in Charlotte. Then we'll take a week off for the Oath of the Gatewatch pre-release. Then we'll have a release weekend in Atlanta, January 23rd and the 24th. Columbus, after that, the week before the Pro Tour, we'll have a Standard Open. Then we'll have a Regional Championship the weekend of the Pro Tour. So if you're not qualified for the Pro Tour, definitely check out that. We'll have more information about that for you guys later in the broadcast. February 20th and the 21st, we'll bring a Modern Open to Louisville. And then February 27th and the 28th, some Legacy action in Philadelphia. 3 dates to close out the rest of Season 1. Indianapolis, Baltimore, and then the Season 1 Invitational in Columbus, April 15th through the 17th, Standard and Modern. Best of all, of course, we're still doing the playmats here on the SCG Tour, so kitchen links is what you can get.
Love it.
Of course you love it. Who doesn't love it? It's
Everybody
cats.
loves cats. That's if I've learned anything from the internet, it's that pictures of cats are pretty much the best thing going on.
Cats for me, this is going to be controversial. Cats are the new bacon.
Okay.
Where everyone just had like this thing with bacon, so we saw bacon on everything and in everything. And now it's everyone on the internet, of course. So now it's cats.
Right, now it's cats.
So now I don't know what's going to be next.
I think it's always been cats, though.
You think cats have always been leading?
I mean, about cats being just what the internet is about?
Yes. It's just always been cats?
It's always been cats.
Okay, fair enough. Maybe I'm an internet
Because
noob.
they're just so adorable.
Well, I don't dislike cats. I'm pro-cat. I'm just saying, eventually something's going to take the market away from cats. I don't know what it's going to be, but you can't imagine that cats are going to corner the market forever on the internet.
I always like the ones where it's like, like cats like cuddling with baby owls and stuff. And, they're just all, those are my favorite ones.
Yeah. Of course. I don't have a favorite cat thing. I say that with pride. I'm a dog man. Love dogs. How come there's not more dog stuff on the internet? Doesn't make any sense. Seth is going to sacrifice a Flooded Strand here. I think Basic Plane's going to be on the way. And for him, I have a feeling that he's just going to keep every hand that has Anafenza.
It's so good in this matchup that it's hard to pass up, 3 lands plus Anafenza. Yeah, even if there's nothing on turn 2.
Because we saw in the last game, he didn't do anything the first 2 turns of the game.
Right. What he does have to watch out for is that these Anafenzas are not going to survive as frequently post-board.
A little surprised to see him morph instead of an Anafenza there on turn number 3 from Manfield. Here's a Catacomb Sifter. Zulaport Cutthroat is how Seth started things off. Excuse me, how Andrew started things off. He's going to search up a land, probably a battle land here, get these mana online. There is a Prairie Stream. Looks like that'll be Schneider's turn. So back to Seth Manfield, we're going to go. He'll draw a card.
Yeah, and both players staying at 19. The pressure here is on Manfield, though, because the longer both players play creatures and just stare at each other, the farther and farther away this game goes for Seth.
Flooded Strand here from Seth. See what he's on the hunt for. It's his second basic plains. So now all the battle lands that he does find are going to enter the battlefield untapped. And perhaps a Rhino will join the party? Yes, there we are.
Well, this is the Abzan aggro strategy, right? Curving out with quality creatures. It is still difficult for him to attack on the ground, however.
Schneider will draw a copy of Collected Company. Does he have land number 4?
I don't know if he has land. He does have a Scion token if he really wants to get that company in play. At the same time, if he takes the turn off, he can have 2 Cutthroats when he goes for all of this, which is hard to pass up on.
There's a second Cutthroat. He's going to sacrifice this right now.
So a Scry, a drain of 2. The engine is getting its motors running.
Yep, this is where this deck gets scary. Take a look at the top card.
With the amount of card draw he has in hand, I wouldn't be surprised if he's just scrying a land to the top here. You know,
go ahead.
He has a Jason play. He has a Collected Company in hand. I believe he already has a Rally the Ancestors as well, and a Grim Haruspex. If he just hits his land drop, this is exactly what he wants to be doing.
Yeah, Jace was the follow-up there after the Scry.
The only thing he's missing at the moment would be a copy of Murderous Cut as an insurance policy against Anafenza.
See what Manfield wants to do this turn. Land of War Waste is where he starts things.
Yeah, getting good damage in with the Rhino. He has Schneider at 14. Now, Seth's hand, all things considered, was rather slow. His first real attacker was that Siege Rhino. What I would wonder about then is whether or not he has one of his sideboard copies of Hallowed Moonlight in hand. That would certainly make this hand a lot more competitive. And knowing the kind of player Seth is, I really wouldn't be surprised to see it there.
Ultimate Price took care of Jace, so Andrew got 3 triggers there, 2 from Zillipore Cutthroat, and then 1 from Catacomb Sifter. And it looks like Catacomb Sifter is thinking red zone now, and it is.
Well, it could trade with Den Protector here. Of note, what Schneider kept on top was not a land, but rather a Murderous Cut.
Okay. He's going to play another Sifter now. That'll bring an Eldrazi Scion along with it, pass that turn back over to Manfield.
It's a sweet draft deck he has going on. Picked up doubles of both power uncommons.
How lucky. Sometimes you just open and get past a really good deck. Time for Den Protector to unmegamorph. It'll get a +1/+1 counter and rebuy a spell.
Now, Seth declined to trade this Den Protector for Catacomb Sifter here, which really speaks about what his game plan is, because while the Den Protector is a 3/2, it actually can't be blocked by anything on Schneider's side.
Maybe Seth, thinking a more aggressive slant to the game.
Which I like. I mean, if he's trading and filling up the graveyard, that is not a game he wants to play.
Ultimate Price here to take down a Cutthroat. Couple of triggers.
So it's going to be 2 Scries and 2 Drains.
Scry number 1 to the bottom. Scry number 2.
Yeah. And I think what's interesting, my guess is he wants to find a land here. He has so many good 4-mana plays. The question is whether he'll keep a non-white land. He only has single white right now for Rally the Ancestors in his hand. But he may want to get that Collected Company bad enough that he would keep any land, even if it couldn't make white mana. See, Collected Company, Rally the Ancestors, Murderous Cut, and the Grim Haruspex as the 4 cards in Schneider's hand.
Here come the attacks. And now here's a Warden. And I think you may have called it here. The way that Seth's playing this game, it
feels like a Hallowed Moonlight to you.
It really does. Here's Polluted Delta.
So if he's playing around that, and this is something that's mildly on Schneider's radar, it's an interesting one. And so if a creature enters the battlefield that wasn't cast, exile it. Now, he could try to bait that with something like Collected Company. And it'll be interesting to whether or not Seth will be willing to Hallowed Moonlight away a Collected Company. I mean, the big prize, of course, is Rally the Ancestors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's Collected Company now.
Remember, a drain of 1 off that Scion.
Yeah, just the way that the way that Seth has played this game is just, it reeks of Hallowed Moonlight.
And here it is. He has one in hand.
Yeah. So the way that this works is Andrew still gets to collect a company. And he'll still get to take a look at the top 6.
Yeah, no big. It's just whatever he picks goes into exile.
Assuming he picks something, because he doesn't have to.
All right, so then he gets to put the top 6 cards on the bottom? All right. Well,
Now, there are situations where you're happy to pick something because you'd like an exile from your deck.
sure.
But in this instance, collect a company, take a look at the top 6. You may. All that jazz.
And of note, this may have been the test spell for Schneider. Remember, he does actually have a copy of
Rally
the
Ancestors.
right.
Yep.
Now, he still couldn't get double white because his deck only plays 1 Prairie Stream, so that polluted Delta that he fetched could not get a second white.
Top card going to go to the bottom from the scry. Another scry. Remember, this is from the Eldrazi Scion token.
Right, resolving these in the order. If you're casting a spell with it, you can kind of, right, you can pick the order which this happens in.
Now here come the beatdowns from the Sifter.
That's actually a very minor detail that's interesting. So what Schneider made sure he did is that he sacked a Scion and he paid for the spell and then had the triggers on the stack so that he wanted to look at the top 6 first and then get his scries.
Murder's Cut's going to take care of the Rhino. Andrew's just got to decide what he's going to delve away. He wants to leave creatures, of course, in the graveyard for Rally. So Cut's done resolving. And now we head back over to Manfield. Manfield will take a draw step here.
Well, now that Cut's gone, if Manfield has an Anafenza, that's going to really put the nail in the coffin on it. He could have, of course, his second sideboard copy of Hallowed Moonlight as well. And it's not that Schneider's graveyard is lethal just yet. It's good, but it could be overcome.
Beatdown time here from Seth. Den Protector, a 3-2. One of the first 3, just a 1-1 right now, but the potential for so much more. Damage going to come across, no blocks to be had.
Den Protector been really impressive this game, just in the fact that it's a great attacker in the matchup.
Seth rearranging his mana here. Might have a 4-mana play on the way.
Yeah, he still has plenty of cards. I believe another Rhino is among his options. Hard to go wrong with the card.
Yeah, it is a doozy. And there is Rhino. That'll trigger. Manfield going to go up to 11. Schneider down to 4.
All right, 4. Getting very low on Schneider's side. It will be difficult for him to survive through next turn.
Looks like a Catacomb Sifter may have been the draw. It is.
That's good, but Seth's creatures are doing a great job of being being pesky, right? Rhino has Trample, Den Protector can't really be blocked. This will force difficult blocks on Schneider's side.
Well, Seth going to rearrange some things here. You saw him play the Shambling Vent very quickly from his hand. That's his land for the turn.
Yeah, he has another Vent in play if he's trying to close out the game this turn. Warden, however, still a 1-1.
Obzon Charm.
Yeah, I believe he has Obzon Charm and Silk Wrap in hand. So the question is, can he actually force enough damage through? I mean, he could, for example, just put, I think he's gonna try to win this turn, could put counters on Den Protector and then just swing it past everything.
Schneider's gonna sacrifice his Eldrazi Scion in response to the Silk Wrap. He wants to get a life, and it looks like he's got some interest in some scry triggers as well from Catacomb Sifter.
But 1 life point's not gonna be 2, so unless his last card is another Murder's Cut, which it can't, it still wouldn't work here. I believe this Obzon Charm is just lethal.
Next up.
Yeah, 2 counters on Den Protector. It's 5. Conveniently is Schneider's life total, and we're on to game 3.
Seth Manfield going to win game number 2 here against Andrew Schneider. Obzon aggro, 4-color rally, getting ready here for game number 3. Both players are going to go back to the drawing board. We'll take a look at their sideboards one more time. You saw the power of Hallowed Moonlight there from Manfield. I mean, he basically had the card face up the entire time with the way he was playing game number 2, but still good enough.
Yeah, and I mean, at some point, Schneider cannot actually play around Hallowed Moonlight. It's only 2 mana. I think getting a Collected Company nabbed by it is is running about average for him. You know, he did set up, like I mentioned, his Rally of the Ancestors, just never actually got a point where he could cash it in. And that's impressive on Seth's side, that he had a game with no Anafenza and didn't even need to counter Rally of the Ancestors and was able to win really an honest game of Magic off the back of 2 Siege Rhinos.
Well, as these players do shuffle up and get ready here for game number 3 pretty quickly, which won't surprise you because the games do take a little bit here. You know, I do like the Schneiders on the play here for game 3. That'll give you a bit of help. Doesn't have a lot of mana acceleration and stuff like that, but you know, maybe you can get this game going before Anafenza shows up here.
Yeah, and especially now that he knows that Hallowed Moonlight is in the sideboard for Seth, there's some concern that he could lose a fair game of Magic, even one where he's not trumped by the Anafenza.
Seth Manfield, of course, your current world champion. Andrew Schneider, a player with 3 Open Series titles with Blue-Red, Delver, and Legacy. We'll see if he can get any new SCG Tour titles.
Yeah, I mean, no Legacy this weekend, but not having a problem so far as he's off to a 3-0 start.
Yep. We're underway. Player's going to keep very quickly. A Sunken Hollow is where Schneider does begin things.
And Schneider's hand is a real interesting one this game. I believe it is 3 copies of Zulaport Cutthroat.
Okay.
So pretty clear game plan. Because Odds on Aggro doesn't actually have sweepers or ways to kill them, if Schneider gets them all in play, he can literally chump block his way to victory.
A Canopy Vista very quickly from Schneider. He'll pass the turn back over to Manfield, who fetched up a basic forest from the Windswept Heath. That's why he's at 19. And now Warden of the First Tree. See what's next here for Seth. He'll sacrifice this Windswept Heath, fall down to 18. I think it'll be basic Plains and perhaps a pump of the Warden. Underneath 14 minutes here in the round. So these players will play a little bit of speed Magic, you have to imagine. There is your pump. And here's your bash. Schneider going to fall down to 17.
Straightforward, aggressive approach from Obs on Aggro.
Catacomb Sifter. Eldrazi Scion, kick it over.
Love it, especially if we're going to start dumping multiple Cutthroats onto the board. This is a great creature to have.
Sounds actually pretty good. I think 3 Cutthroats, a Sidisi's Faithful, and Eclectic Company.
It's so good. Now, be interesting to see if Schneider, I mean, he can't realistically go for the double block there because of Obs on Charm.
I really want a double block.
I'm a crazy person. You
person.
just lose.
Yeah. I am a crazy person.
You just look him in the eye, and then you'd look at him and you'd say, you don't have it, and then put the creatures in.
Actually, I think the issue is I wouldn't be able to look him in the eye. I'd have to look away before I double blocked.
Oh, because we're the other way around. We're just putting our hand over our face.
I don't want to
double block.
Yeah. I don't want to know if you have it. And attack for 3. Now, what Seth is also doing here, however, he didn't do anything on the 3rd turn outside of playing that Smoldering Marsh. So, again, Hallowed Moonlight's got to be on the radar if you're Andrew.
Yeah, he's worried about Collected Company, or at least wants to make Andrew play around it. But like I said, the danger here is all of these Cutthroats are going to add up.
I love this turn. Sidious is Faithful. I'd like to bounce your 1 threat.
There's some temptation to wait until you have more Cutthroats, but I agree. I like an 0-4 wall is really great here. Bouncing that. This is punishing Seth for leaving mana up this turn.
It forces Seth's hand now. Because once this Faithful bounces the Warden, there's nothing Seth can do about that. That's where things get really hard. What do we have here from Manfield?
Well, you could have something like Dramoka's Command, perhaps, or he looks like it'll be Murderous Cut.
With Exploit on the stack. So that means that Andrew's going to have to sacrifice something else. Now, you're going to get some triggers, of course. Actually, no, pardon me. Can't really do anything about this.
So the Exploit triggers on the stack looks like we cut the Faithful.
Yep. So no bounce now. It's the same thing with that you see with Sidisi.
Right, so Exploit actually requires that the creature is still in play when Exploit happens. So by killing the Faithful, there is no bounce.
Yep. And now in comes the Warden again. And now Anafenza.
All right. And if you want a way to stop a triple Cutthroat hand, there you go.
You found it. Over to Andrew Schneider, we're going to go.
Does he have the Murderous Cut? That's the big question.
I believe the answer is yes.
All right, well.
He's going to scry right now. He'll get a trigger from the Cutthroat as well.
Interesting. So
he might be just going to collect
Okay.
a company.
okay,
It could be that or cut. I think he's going to go a company.
so this is during his upkeep, I
Yep.
believe.
Remember, the scry trigger's on the stack.
Yeah, so he'll get to scry after this is done. Looks like it's Catacomb Sifter, Sidisi's Faithful. A great pair there. I love how I really like how Schneider's playing this as well. The incremental damage he's getting off these Sifters just continues to add.
Now he's going to exploit. Pick up that Anafenza. Now I get the scry.
Yeah. Warden currently a 3/3. May see an encore that game 1 where Seth starts to lifelink it, but I mean his priority still has to be on Anafenza, Anafenza, Anafenza.
Now it's time for that third scry from the very first Eldrazi spawn dying on the upkeep.
Yeah, the stack getting kind of big here.
Yeah, it's a little muddled. All right, that's the draw for the turn. Flooded Strand. Beatdowns in for 5. Let's make it 3.
Yeah, that one actually,
Yep.
if you remember all the way back to the upkeep, that actually came in off Collected Company, but 3 is good. I mean, he has him at 9. Remember that there's 2 Cutthroats in hand and still has what appears to be a Murderous Cut. This is going to be difficult for Seth to not take 9. I mean, with triple Cutthroat, Seth needs Anafenza in play at literally all times.
Don't love Seth's chances. It's looking pretty hard. There's a Wooded Foothills. If anyone can find their way through it, though, you have to imagine it's the current world champion as he searches up a forest.
Yeah, Schneider's hand is literally Cutthroat, Cutthroat, Murderous Cut. I mean, what he can always go for here is he could just, a rated Wingmate Rock, perhaps, could buy him a turn.
Schneider's going to sacrifice a land very quickly. Get himself a Sunken Hollow. Anafenza's in here for Seth.
Wants the double black here. Remember, his hand 3 black cards. Much prefers that to setting up for a potential rally.
Schneider going to draw.
2 mana up for Seth, so it could be Hallowed Moonlight. Remember at the same time that Seth's Warden already a 3/3, so no pump there.
Delta was the draw. Schneider's going to search up a swamp. He wants as much black mana as possible.
Well, with 3 black, he can literally cast his hand.
Yeah.
And at that point, he's almost willing to suicide his creatures. It just doesn't matter.
Here comes Murderous Cut. Anafenza down.
Danger.
Yep.
Danger.
Another Cutthroat. Beatdowns, maybe. Yeah, beatdowns are pretty safe here.
What's for 5? If Seth kills any of them, he takes 1 or 2 additional. It's aggressive, but not lethal. It's real close.
I like the play here from Andrew. I mean, pretty straightforward stuff, but I like it a lot. I think his chances of winning this game are pretty high.
We've got to go in with this line because delaying this line a turn doesn't actually improve it at all. I mean, there are ways that this could go wrong, for example.
Schneider going to lose one of these Cutthroats. Manfield down to 1. He gets to scry twice, does Andrew.
2 damage off each Sifter, and then the Cutthroat dying was 3 more.
Yep. And now he just says go. Manfield will draw.
At 1 life, Manfield needs... Well, he needs a lot. Anafenza would help to stop the Cutthroat triggers, but at the same time, he really would need his Warden to have lifelink to survive the next attack. If he had 7 mana, I would say he could do Anafenza. The Siege Rhino would save him. He only has 6, however.
Manfield does play a copy of Canopy Vista for the turn.
If he had Siege Rhino plus Silk Wrap, that could keep him alive. But that's about what we're looking at.
I don't see a lot of outs here.
Yeah, and it would have to be Silk Wrap too, because he can't kill a creature. It'd have to be exiling.
Manfield going to do some math as he does take a look at the battlefield. He's going to scan his hand.
He has a Siege Rhino. Before needs the kill spell to go with it.
You could always hope Andrew Schneider misses the triggers.
Oh, but you know, you got to play to your outs, but boy, I don't like it.
It's pretty unlikely. Air of the Wild's past the turn back.
So he's representing a Warden activation, but that only puts him at 4. And so some dirty math here with Cutthroats. Each creature is good for at least 1 point of damage. So Manfield's gonna gain more than 3 life. Otherwise, he's dead to a swing of the team.
But now for Andrew, you just want to make sure, okay, I'm not making a mistake, am I?
Yeah. Are there instant speed things you're not thinking of? You got to, I believe the answer is no.
Yep. And looks like all the creatures are coming in.
There's 2 Surge of Righteousnesses in Seth's board. If he has both of them, he can survive this.
Make the Warden into a 3/3 lifelinker.
So Seth will take 2 and take 6 off triggers. Yep. Schneider mentions the triggers, and that'll be the match.
Andrew Schneider going to win this match over Seth Manfield, 2-1. 4-color Rally going to take care of Abzan aggro. And for Andrew Schneider, a player with 3 championships here on the SCG Tour, he's looking for his first invitational championship. He's off to a great start. He's 4-0 here in Standard.